The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. It's the Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She-Squatchers. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and I've got my fellow teammates on the line. I've got Jenna Grover.
Well, hello, everyone.
And Tammy Trickle.
Hi, everybody.
And we are super excited to be here with you all tonight. We have a super special guest for you tonight, joining us from Texas. We love Texas. Jenna loves Texas the most. We've got Baldemar Galvan Jr. with us. Hey, Baldemar.
Hello, how everybody doing? Ladies, thank you very much for having me.
Well, welcome.
Yes, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Let me talk a little bit about myself here for a little bit, if you don't mind. I'm a Native American Indian here in South Texas. I had a few encounters with Bigfoot out here. I've actually seen it like around 40 yards away, between 30 and 40 yards away. The creature was magnificent. It looked just like a man, hairy. And what was wild about it is that when I first saw it, I didn't know who to tell. So I contacted a whole bunch of old timers that were basically around here in our Manor area where I actually saw it. And sure enough, one gentleman invited me to go to his office. And he comes up. He goes, and I told him exactly what I saw, and this man's face just lit up. And he comes up. He goes, "Do you want to see how Bigfoot lives?" I said, "Lives?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I want to show you the house that Bigfoot actually built down out here in a little town called Claire, Texas." And sure enough, and the structure was made magnificently. It was made like a lean-to, big old poles and everything, and it was packed with grass in it. And he comes up. He goes, "What you saw actually made that." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And then all of a sudden, this is how the Bigfoot stories and everything like that happened around for me, and also my life as well here in South Texas.
That's so very interesting. How long has that been going? Oh, go ahead, Jenna.
No, that's my same question. You go ahead.
You go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering, how long ago was that when you first started getting into Bigfoot? When did you see this beautiful, magnificent creature?
Well, I see that we actually started when we were younger. We actually heard it, and then so we were actually taught as a young age that it was actually a creature called La Lechuza. And so anytime we would hear a scream or a yell or a whistling sound, it would always be the Lechuza. And then all of a sudden, as we got older, and then I actually saw mine in 2013. A friend of mine, we were actually driving through a ranch, and we actually saw the creature just standing there. But before that, we actually found a lair of a dead deer. It was scattered around the ground, and for every 13 days, there was another new deer that was actually there. And then so it was kind of odd because I never seen anything eat like that before. I've seen mountain lions and stuff like that. I've seen what they do to carcasses and stuff, put them on top of trees and everything. I know all this stuff already. I knew this for a knee high to a grasshopper, but I never seen anything like this before. And so that was kind of odd. And then all of a sudden, as we're doing our little tours around the ranch and checking the areas out. And here's this big old black thing just standing and around the middle of a sendero, just staring right at us. And we're like going, "What's that?" He goes, and I'm looking at my buddy. He goes, "I don't know what that is. I've never seen anything like that before." So I said, "Hey, get back a little bit. Let me try to get a photo of it." As soon as he went back, I lost eye contact for around a second, and that thing was just gone. And then, so what I decided to do was I wanted to see it again because I knew it was something odd. So I grabbed my camera and I ran. There was a pipeline. So what I did was I said, "Man, I'm going to get it on camera for sure, whatever this thing is." And I went out there where the creature was standing. A whip hit me like a cross between a wet dog and rotten eggs. And so I kept on going, and I went to the pipeline area, and the creature never crossed, or he crossed, and I didn't even see it.
Do you think Bigfoot can swim underwater? It just came to me just now when you said that you didn't see it cross the river. I know that
No, it wasn't a river. It was. I'm sorry, Jenna. Wasn't a river. It was actually a pipeline crossing. That's
Oh,
what it
I'm
was.
sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you said river.
No, ma'am.
But
And
the
they
question's,
actually do swim.
do you think they swim underwater to avoid being seen, or do you think it's just whatever they feel?
Because people have actually seen them wade on water, and then there's no telling what this creature can and cannot do.
Sure.
And to me he's just like a Superman of the forest. So
Yeah. Oh, thank you for answering me.
Very cool. I'm wondering, what does a pipeline look like? Like, I don't have one here so when you're talking about that, I'm trying to picture, what does that look like?
So what a pipeline is actually a pipeline that's underground, right? And they actually put oil through there. And that every single year they actually clean that pipeline up, just like they do a power line. And every single year, brush and everything like that is removed from it. And that's how Bigfoot actually crosses down here. And that's basically their highway. The pipelines are their highway, and also these power lines are also their highways because they're always cleaned up. And that's the best way for them to travel, is through these cleaned areas. And if somebody or something, he would see somebody or something come on in, he'll just go straight into the brush, let him pass, and he'll go in his own way. Again, he's a very smart, intelligent animal, or creature, whatever you want to call him.
Speaking of, what do you think Bigfoot is?
That's a good one, Jenna. Um, to me, he is more human than animal. Again, very intelligent. We don't know that much about him. He could probably have some special qualities that man doesn't have. I think he's more or less like in the survived the prehistoric age. And so he has been hiding from us for so long. And I mean, he's an expert. So that's why we call him the hide and go seek champion, because
So
he can hide and seek whatever he wants. Exactly.
he's the authentic, real. I mean, Bigfoot is the authentic, real tracker. First tracker, I guess,
Yep.
would be Bigfoot, right?
Yep. Yep. And the thing is, again, dealing with these creatures, they use trees. I mean, down out here, oak trees over here are giants out here. You Like 17, 18 people can hold their hands around for a trunk to a tree. Trees like that, I call them kings. And there's so many areas down over here that we actually call it uh, uh, the Valley of the Kings, because there's so many oak trees there, and that's what they actually use for that. Basically to hide from people or climb the trees. I got a story to tell. There was down over here in B County that there was a mountain lion and her cub that it was around some little community there, some little a little area there, and so they decided to take some night vision photos of it because it was dark. And so they went up there and they hovered around this area, and then all of a sudden they hit this oak tree, and sure enough, they looked at it to the infrared and actually noticed this big old man sitting on the tree, and they're going, "What's that?" And then they did another loop around there and everything like that, and whatever it was on that tree was gone.
And so did they later think that it was something larger than a man, or
They did say it was something larger than a man. What's wonderful about the Bigfoot stuff that's been happening around B County. Actually, when I started going on the news and talking about it, and had people from What on Earth show up, and it brought a lot of publicity to actually brought a whole bunch of publicity to the town, and then so it made people open up more, made them talk more, and now the stories are just coming out like crazy. So
And
yes, ma'am.
oh no, I was just going to say you've kind of become a popular guy. You're pretty well known in Beesville, right? Because of this.
Yes and no. There's I love it when I go to Walmart and see random people that I don't even know come up there and they call me Mr. Bigfoot, and they come up there and say, "Hey, I got a story for you." And then they'll go there and just tell me their stories, and I tell the people all the time, I don't care if it's 5 years old, last year, a day ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 50 years ago. I want to know about it, and that's the way that I document. Like that, I'll know exactly where he traveled at, and I would know more or less where he probably might be in the same spot, maybe 5 or 10 years from now.
are you getting reports of Bigfoots that have specific markings or things that can identify them physically as different from and maybe another one that has been reported?
There was, I got to tell you a story about my uncle. Um, he comes up there, and people will always kind of mess with him because he's my uncle and stuff, and oh, your nephew saw Bigfoot, he's crazy and stuff like that, right? So that's what people always say, and I really don't care. So one day he comes up, and he's going to his ranch, and he had a set of binoculars in his uh, right across his chest, and all of a sudden he sees this black ball by the gate, and he looks at it. He goes, "What's that?" And then all of a sudden the ball splits, and they turn out to be two Bigfoots, a smaller one and a bigger one. And the bigger one, he was focused on his chest, and his chest, it had a white dot, a white speck right in the middle of his chest. So that's the only thing that I knew about that somebody's actually had markings on this Bigfoot. And it got me thinking. The only way that it could be a possibility that he had an old wound is just like a horse. When he gets a wound on there, his hair will actually turn white.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I know there was one up in Minnesota, up on one of the reservations that was being seen that had a gray patch on his back.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So that makes me curious about, what are the different kinds of markings that are being reported, if any?
Right.
So what color are these that you have down there?
They're dark in color. Dark, and there's some. I had a man that he was looking for me for pretty close to around 6 months to a year. We had a Bigfoot encounter. He actually drove a Budweiser truck. As he was doing one of his rounds, he looked on the side to the road, and lo and behold, he sees a Bigfoot on the side to the road. And he described this creature to a T, from the yellow teeth to the hand, where the tips of the fingers were black, and the inside of the palm was the dark brown. So the legs were the size of tree trunks, he said, and the arms were so long that if you actually have a human hand and actually add another uh, joint from the elbow to the hand, that's how long it was. It was massive, he said. And he said that it was a cold morning because he could actually see the dew rising from his arm. And then I have a photo of a Bigfoot arm that was actually taken by a trail camera. And I said, wait a minute, stop. He goes, and I showed him the picture of the arm. And he just turned white as the ghost. He goes, that's exactly what I saw.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
That's very cool. That is very cool. So when you said he described the yellow teeth, were they like human teeth or did they have fangs?
No fangs, no fangs at all. And that's the very first thing. That's the very first thing that I asked. Was such fangs? He goes, no, they were straight. There were no fangs, no nothing. They actually looked like human teeth, but a little bit bigger. So
that makes sense to
yeah.
me. That makes sense to me. So about how big do you think that they are? Do they come in different sizes from different places? What do you think about that?
They hold on one second. Okay, do I think they come from different places? Yeah, I think they come from different places. Man, I would talk to people from Mexico, and they would actually say that they actually had a lot of encounters in Mexico. They were actually pairs in Mexico, a male and a female. But here he was saying here in the United States they make a big deal out of it, but in Mexico they actually don't. They just leave them alone. So I believe that they could actually travel through the rivers, just like Jenna said. That they could go through the water and everything like that. I've actually had stories from people that actually crossed the Rio Grande and actually told encounters of actually seeing Bigfoot around the border there.
So Bigfoot's crossing the border?
Bigfoot crossing the border.
Where are
Yep.
his papers?
I know.
Is this legal?
Yes, he is. I'm hoping that he's going to be able to climb that fence.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that'll be just fine. Oh, that's funny, Jen.
No, it
Bigfoot
is.
crossing the border.
Well, I mean, how far into Mexico are you talking about that they were seeing this? Because I know I used to live down, on the border of Progreso, I think, or is that down in? I think it was Progreso.
I don't know the areas, but there was one man that actually had property down there, and his was pretty close to a river, and he would actually said he had like 4 or 5 encounters of it there. So they just
Wow.
look at him and they just leave him alone. So they basically mind their own business and they just take off, and they don't bother him and he don't bother them. So
See, that's beautiful. I should say, why can't we do this? But I guess we want to prove that they exist, so we make sure that they are safe.
And if we just leave them alone, Jenna, then what are we doing here?
I know, that's what I was thinking. But, I've been thinking about that a lot, you guys. I've been thinking, what are we doing? If we bring them out and basically if we find Bigfoot family, we have all this information. I don't know if I'd really want to share it. Is that terrible?
Well, it's not like we're going to bring Daryl out and bring him out for a family reunion and say, here he is. We're not going to do that. And I've already been very vocal about if we found a Bigfoot village, we're not going to tell people where it is.
Well, of course not. But I'm just talking about in general, we're looking for this being and we're trying to learn. I don't know. I've just been thinking about it lately and I don't know if I feel bad about looking.
Here's how I think about it.
That I'm looking for.
The world is filled with great mysteries, and that was by design. I believe that was by design, and we're supposed to be exploring those great mysteries. This is one of them.
Okay, I don't have to think anymore. Thank you very much. That's done. I'm done thinking.
Well, that was really easy.
It was easy. I'm a pushover for a good answer.
What do you think, Baldemar? Do you think we should bring? If you could say, okay, here's Bigfoot, I can prove it. Would you do that?
Be honest with you, I would rather it's for me is I'm a big. I'll put it like this. I love the adventure. I love birding. I like the wildlife. I like finding all different plants. Like finding rare butterflies. I like finding everything that people have died to find, and I've actually found quite a bit of stuff. And I'd rather my thing is I'd rather do it with a camera. I'd rather do it with a DNA. I have my own microscope that I look for hair samples and everything like that. So I have samples of rabbit, I have deer and stuff like that. And I look underneath the microscope. If I find something, I just compare it. If find something unique, I keep it. So again, it's just the adventure of the adventure of the search, you know. And I'd rather be out there searching than playing around the computer and listening to other people do their searches because I want to go up there. I have fun with it. You know, I have my backpack. I got my Bigfoot kits with me. I have my cameras. I got my recorders. You know, little things like that. There's nothing like sitting down there away from everybody and just sitting down there, sitting underneath an oak tree, eating a sandwich, and just having fun with life. You know. So if one comes along and sure enough, I'll take my camera out and I'll just snap a picture. And so again, it's there's some times when I was always never I don't go looking for Bigfoot, but once in a while I see something out of the ordinary that I have to photograph and I have to document. So
That sounds good.
You are right, though.
mhm,
You are right when you talk about the actual adventure in looking. You know, we're
mhm.
tracking. Tammy's our fabulous tracker, and I hope she teaches us a little bit. I think we're learning, but I
Yeah,
forgot what I was like. So go on. Sorry.
Well,
a
I think
native.
that's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. A native man once told me that he's a Bigfoot researcher, but he wasn't sure that he wanted to find or prove that Bigfoot existed because he was afraid of what the government might do if they had to acknowledge that Bigfoot was real. And he wondered
Mhm.
if the government would put them on reservations like they did with the Indians. And that got me to thinking because when we're looking up here in Minnesota where we have lots of Indian reservations, we have really good luck on those reservations. Like it seems like they're much more densely populated with Bigfoot than other places. And I started to think, what if they were already put there? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Hmm. Well, you got to catch them first in order for to put them in a reservation. That's number one.
True.
And I don't think that he would ever be caught. I don't think that that he would ever be in captivity. So that's what I think. And I think that even though they would put him in captivity, I don't think that he'll survive long. So, but that's my opinion. Even Native American Indians, they called it, reservations and nothing but camps. That is we're prisoners of war. And then so we have always been the longest people that have ever been kept in prisoners of war to this day, 2000, with the 2022, they're still there. So I don't think that, I don't think, putting Bigfoot in a reservation or stuff like that type deal would ever happen.
I would love for you to come up to Minnesota and I would love to take you to my reservation because ours is different. It's huge and it's a sovereign nation, so they never ceded to the government, and so all the land is held in trust by the tribal members, so nobody owns it, and nothing is ever sold. So it's all just still very natural. There's like no boats on this large. I mean, you never hardly ever see a boat on the water, or I've never seen a jet ski out there. It's just so
Was that
natural.
actually was that Leech Lake Reservation?
No, it's near that though. It's the Red Lake Reservation.
Okay, because I actually danced at Leech Lake Reservation one year.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not that far away. That Bigfoot with the gray patch was on the Leech Lake Reservation.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Hmm.
We've gone looking up there and up in Cass Lake and Red Lake and White Earth and all over the different reservations up here.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Very fun. Very fun. And it just seems like there's more of them on the reservations. That they're easier to find.
Wow.
I think that has a lot to do with the fact that the Native Americans respect Bigfoot as their brother and that they're not trying to capture them and turn them in. And I think that they feel safer there, personally.
Oh,
That
definitely.
actually makes sense. There was a TV show on that I enjoyed. I think it was called Hangar One, and it was based on the real files collected by MUFON, the real reports by the Mutual UFO Network. And they were making episodes out of different case files. And there was one where it was based primarily on a native reservation, and they were talking about the connection of UFOs and extraterrestrials with the native peoples and how people would react to seeing a UFO as no big deal, where they would see a government helicopter and they'd be calling it in because they shouldn't be here. So, and how it was so natural for them to see the UFOs and not think anything negatively about that. That's just a friend. Do you have thoughts
Definitely.
about that, Baldemar?
I kind of feel that that the Bigfoot here knows me. My mom lives out in the country, and so anytime when we go out, sometimes you hear the door slam, and if you're out there in the woods, you could actually hear, if you're like maybe like around 300 yards away or quite a distance away, you could actually hear the door slam. Or you could actually, if you call a dog, because I have a dog named Spud. If I had to call Spud, they could actually hear me calling Spud, and because down here the voice travels, our voices travel, and they know when we're leaving and when and they know when we're coming back, and so I think that he actually knows our routine pretty well. So and then so that's why I know that there could be a member to my family working on the garden, and they would actually hear sticks hitting each other, or they would actually hear a yell, or they would actually hear a breathing sound. And so he is. And I was telling him, hey, don't worry about it. They're just curious. They're just checking up on you and making sure that you're doing all right. So he goes, he's been out there for years. He hasn't came out here yet. So I wouldn't even worry about it. So.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Mm.
Do you think that there is a Bigfoot UFO connection?
Ooh, that's a good one. Because people have been abducted by UFOs, and I can't see why a Bigfoot couldn't be abducted by UFO. I can't see why. They were saying that through history that that UFOs brought us here or whatever. I don't know the whole story, but we just don't know. That's one of the great mysteries. Yep. So I can't answer that.
Are you receiving reports of Bigfoot sightings alongside of UFO sightings?
Here there was actually a Bigfoot. I mean, a UFO sighting where I'm seeing right now. My pickup truck, maybe like a 500 yards south of here. There've actually been a whole bunch of UFO sightings in this area right here. There's been in the county area. There's been quite a bit of Bigfoot. I mean, UFO sightings here. So I could say that.
Okay. Do you know what kind of UFOs are being reported? Are they all like the same, or are they different? What kinds?
One of them, it was a blue in shape, shaped like a triangle, and a couple of my friends were actually driving on this certain bridge, and this UFO flew overhead, and their battery just went dead on their vehicles. The one in the front and the one in the back also went totally dead. So when the UFO crossed about over them and went them for quite a distance, and then all of a sudden the car started turning back on. So that stuff like that happens here. So
Very
and it's
interesting.
normally sometimes between 10 o'clock, 11, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So
Wow. Well, on that note, we're going to go to our commercial break. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. All right. Good job.
yeah, I got like 11% on my phone, so I'm trying to charge it up real quick. So,
Can you plug it in while you're on?
yeah, I was doing that. So for some reason, the me having it on like that, it's just running down my battery.
Makes sense.
See, when you're on, Baldemar, you know when you're looking at the phone, can you make sure your head is at the top of the screen and not the bottom? Because we're getting like this much of you sometimes. And
Okay.
just a little bit lower. Or I mean, sorry, higher. Oh, now I can't see. Baldemar, talk.
Okay.
Oh, I'm just trying to see
How's
you in the
that?
box. How is it?
I'm ready.
I think it's fine.
Any idea what else that you want me to talk about? Or
Bigfoot stories, little people
I'm
stories.
thinking little people stories. Oh, the duendes. Yeah. I could talk about my shoot was the last one that I had. I'll talk about it here a little bit. Um, uh, Oil field worker, when I oil field, a gas person actually was doing a meter, and he actually found three big old footsteps, three big old footprints on the area that he was working at. He actually saw where the Bigfoot actually came through, and he actually tore down some brush and everything, and he could actually see the Bigfoot, big feet there. And he goes, his stride, he's a big guy, like around 6'4", and he could not make those strides.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and here we're the She-Squatchers. Why don't you check us out online at she-squatchers.com. Right at the top of the page, you can click on our events page and see where we're going to be upcoming in the spring. We're going to be in Washington State, North Carolina, and back to Washington State. So it's going to be really exciting. So I hope you'll come and see us if you can at those locations. We've got more to post soon, and I'll let you know what they are. And as soon as I know more, and I'm trying to get back in the chat room. Excuse me while I do that. We have our awesome guest tonight. We've got Baldemar Galvan Jr. with us, and he is a Native American man who is a Bigfoot researcher from the state of Texas. So before we bring back Baldemar, I just want to invite you to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel at She-Squatchers Official. Help us win that subscribers race that we're in. We need as many subscribers as we can get to win. So please help us. And then you could also come and follow our Facebook and Instagram accounts also at She-Squatchers Official. Back to Baldemar. Hi, Baldemar. Welcome back to the
Hey there.
show.
Thank you.
Well, yes. We're so excited again that you could be here with us tonight. And there's so many things that we could ask you about. And along the list of things is, of course, any new Bigfoot stories or encounters or anything about the little people or the strange lights that are sometimes reported. We'd love to hear about all those things. What do you got for us?
Okay, I'm going to go start with Bigfoot again,
Okay.
and then I'll jump into something else. Well, I got to tell you two stories. First of all, I had people when they have Bigfoot encounters, something like that here, and they have me on speed dial. And so I had a friend of mine that actually works for an oil and gas company. And he comes up there and he gives me a call. He goes, Baldy, he goes, yeah, what's going on? He goes, you're never going to believe what I found. He goes, what's that? He goes, I found some Bigfoot footprints. I go, what do you mean Bigfoot footprints? He goes, yeah, I was actually reading my meters, And lo and behold, there was these three footprints of a Bigfoot around out here. He goes, really? He goes, dude, there were no hogs, there was nothing. It had to have been made by this creature. And again, there's sometimes you have to, come up there and making sure that your stories, everything adds up, because as a researcher, you have to ask questions. And then sure enough, he goes, no, dude. He goes, Baldy. He goes, I've actually. He goes, but I'm on my way back to the truck. I just finished doing my job. I got to take off. I got an emergency going on, but I'm gonna let you know where these footprints are at. So lo and behold, he sends me a map with a pin on it. And sure enough, I go, I know exactly where that's at. And sure enough, I contacted a friend of mine, and they actually had a property there, but apparently the footprints was on the opposite side to the fence. So I contacted that man and asked him permission if I could go on his property for me to do some research in there and at least try to catch these footprints. And he told me that I couldn't go in there, and I just lost an opportunity and that could have been perfect for me, because the guide described it as the creature actually went through the brush, and I go, man, what a perfect way to find hair samples. So I just lost that opportunity. I had a phone
Sometimes
call.
It's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
But we don't do that. We don't do that.
No.
You know what? I did cross that fence line, ma'am. I did cross it, and tried to check if I could actually find what he was looking for. And because there was actually two senderos out up there, and I was going, nah. He goes, nah. Again, you have to do the right thing. If you find something, and then so you do certain things, and lo and behold, the landowner don't giving you permission to go, then you reap what you sow.
Was the landowner a believer in Bigfoot, or were they just not wanting anybody on the property?
Not wanting anybody in the property, but every time when he crosses over the Normanno Bridge, he always says, "Hello, Daryl." I said, "Okay." So,
Oh, he does. So you know him.
oh yeah, I know him well. I basically was raised in this place. I know everybody here. So, and everybody knows me. So, but there's sometimes that people like to keep private. So, and I respect that. The respect of others. That's what makes a peace. So, yeah.
Well, I guess it's easier to ask somebody if you know them, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I might take it personal if they said no if I actually knew them. What do you mean I can't? So, yeah. Anyway.
Now, I got to tell you this here. I have a good friend of mine that's a scientist, and he has to see it to believe it. That's the kind of person that he is. And and uh, and where they saw this Bigfoot at, it was maybe like around 60 yards from his house. And then so when I did my research on this place and my buddy's property, and I knew very well that Bigfoot was there. And you know how I knew that? Is because I found a whole bunch of twisted tree branches there, perfect twist on there, and I knew he was there. So, and I knew very well that the stories were accurate. So,
Why do you think they twist the branches?
it's a marker. It's a marker. Because they've been there, and they probably would have marked it for maybe for another person to come through, because right down there was a hot spot, because they actually used there was actually a feeder there, and people killed a lot of hogs there. And here in Texas, if you shoot a hog, you just leave it there underground and leave it there for the vultures to come get. And lo and behold, it's a free meal.
Are there hogs all over the state? Because I have a friend who lives
Oh
down there
yeah,
and talked about all the wild hogs on his property. They're
I counted
everywhere?
60 of them. I counted 60 of them the other day.
Wow. Are they dangerous?
Oh yeah, they could tear you apart.
So what do you do if you encounter the hogs? Are they ever just one hog, or is it always a group?
There's always a group. I always have my pistol with me, so just in case something happens, I'm well armed.
So what would you do? I mean, with one pistol and 60 hogs, I mean, you didn't see all these hogs together. You saw them just randomly around the area when you were
Correct.
out? Okay, but
Correct.
say there's like 5 hogs, one pistol. What do you do?
Well, I don't shoot them at all. Be honest with you. The only reason if one comes charging at me, then I'll unload. But if they'll just leave me alone, I'll leave them alone. So.
Oh, okay. So they're not aggressive with humans then very much. I thought they were more aggressive.
People have actually been killed by hogs. They've actually a numbers of people have actually been attacked by hogs and actually been killed by hogs. People have were throwing trash and they got attacked by a hog. So these animals are everywhere. So you just don't know when your number comes up.
That's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in cities, though, are they? No.
They have actually been some seen in down in Beeville. So they would definitely come to your town. Yep.
Well, I'm glad we don't have those up here.
It's too cold.
If you get a random pig running through your yard, it's from a hog farmer down the road. It's not wild. And that has happened. That has happened. I've been there when that's happened, and you know exactly which farm it came from. So yeah, and they're usually not very scary at all. So yeah, for sure. Well,
I had another story to tell you.
Okay.
You know Albert, my cousin Albert, Jenna, and so he gives me a call. His grandkids are out there playing, right? And he comes up, he goes, and he was hearing something strange in the woods and everything like that. And he stops and he looks and he sees something moving in the brush. And he took out his camera and he took a photo of it. He goes, dude, what do you think that is? I said, he goes, it's too blurry. I can't even tell you. He goes, there was something standing right behind that boat, right close to that boat, but it was like 30 yards away from it. But I just didn't know. And his dog started acting crazy, and they're still hearing these sounds out there. He's still barbecuing out there, and he's still hearing these crazy sounds out there. So, yeah.
Didn't you say too sometimes when he would cook out that you would hear?
Oh yeah, still does.
Can you kind of tell us about that?
Now, this is what happens down here is anytime when there's some people when they cook out and the aroma to the barbecue and the mesquite wood and to the meat, and it basically attracts them. And Albert is the type of person that it could be 12 o'clock midnight and he could still be cooking a brisket or ribs or chicken or something. You know, he's always cooking. He loves to grill. And at night, he could actually hear stuff screaming and yelling or doing all this crazy stuff in the woods. And one time he calls me up, getting ready to shoot it. And I said, dude, just don't shoot it. He ain't going to bother you. I said, he's just curious to find out what you're doing. That's all. And then, so I go, well, let me ask you this. He goes, what do you do? Normally out here, they actually grab onions and actually scrape them on the grill. And I said, hey, dude, let me ask you something. He goes, have you ever found your onions or stuff like that from your grill missing? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, you think a raccoon or something like that might have taken? He goes, no. He goes, because my barbecue pit is so heavy, and I don't think that cats could do that. And the onions and everything like that are always missing from his grill. So I thought that was pretty curious, pretty wild. Yeah.
That is very cool.
He leaves the onions on there after he's done cooking? He just leaves them there?
Yep.
Interesting.
So does he clean it with the onions, or I don't understand, or is he cooking with the onions?
Well, what do he'll then he have to scrub it, and then after that he'll get his onion, and once everything's cleaned up, he just rubs it on the grill.
Oh,
and
after
like that, it could actually have the taste of onion. Right.
Oh, and he grills so often that, hey.
Oh yeah.
Bet you tastes delicious every night.
Yep.
Well, I
Oh,
think
for
that is so
sure.
neat. Have you ever, has he ever had other animals come his way because of all that outdoor cooking?
No, nothing like that.
So, if you don't have any more Bigfoot stories, we'd love to hear about any little people stories or strange lights that you may know about.
Down out here, we have a legend called the Duendes, little people, and then so that's what they call them, Duendes. And these stories have been going around for so many years, and it's actually been a part of the uh, Latin Latin history. There's some times when the way that you know that there is a duende or a little people in your house is that if you have a set of car keys and you know that you put them on top of your table, then all of a sudden, so you go reach for your car keys, knowing very well that you left them there. Sure enough, and then so you look all around the house and everything like that, and then you come back and the keys are right back there on the table. So what we used to do is that we would actually, when stuff like that would happen, something would be missing, we would actually leave like pieces of candy out and say, hey, can you bring me back my wallet or can you give me back my keys or blah blah blah, and leave them as an offering. And lo and behold, a few minutes later, here comes your keys. They actually reappeared exactly where you left them at. So that's the kind of stuff that happens around here. So I think it's pretty neat. And
So if
did
I,
you know? Go ahead. Now, did you know that that Native American Indians uh, actually made real tiny little arrowheads? They were real super tiny, and they actually mounted them, and they actually made little bows and little arrows for them, and actually left them as offerings. And that's why when they would go like arrowhead hunting, they would actually find these itty bitty tiny little arrowheads because they were actually offerings for the little people.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
That's neat. I would love to see one of those. Do you have any?
I had one, but I misplaced it. I think he went over and took it back from me. So, and they were so super tiny. It was maybe like a quarter of an inch. It was very tiny, but real small. So I never found anything that small before, and then all of a sudden it was just gone. So
That's
oh, I
neat.
wish you would have taken a picture. That would have been so incredible to see.
I know, I know. Now, you were saying about little creatures and things like that. Now, can we talk about paranormal stuff?
Sure.
Okay, I got to tell you this story, and on my phone I have like 6% on my phone, but I got to tell you this story. Uh, when I was a young kid, I used to work at Burger King, and um, and it was maybe, and we just closed up everything in there, so we closed the doors and everything like that, started cleaned up the area, and then all of a sudden. Uh, Cars would go driving by and everything like that. Didn't think too much of it. And then all of a sudden, the sheriff guy came to the house and inside us, knocked on the door and said, "Hey, is there some strange man sitting down in your lobby?" He goes, "No." He goes, "The lobby's been closed for hours." And he goes, "There's nobody in there." He goes, "Would you mind if I take a look?" I said, "Go right ahead." So he went up there, took a look, looked around there and everything like that, and nothing. He goes, "You sure they haven't been?" He goes, "Dude," he goes, we've been friends for years." He goes, "I ain't gonna lie to you." He goes, "All right." He goes, "If you see anything strange, give me a call." I said, "All right." And sure enough, an hour later he knocks on the door again. He goes, "Baldy," he goes, "You sure there's nothing strange going on here, or you all in trouble or anything like that?" He goes, "No." He goes, we're about to go home, so we're just about cleaned everything up. We're just about to go home. Do you mind if I look at it around here just one more time?" He goes, "Go right ahead, have at it." So he went up there and looked around and nothing. Anyway, he ended up leaving. So next morning, I get a phone call from my grandma. He goes, "I want to know if I was working at Burger King that night." I said, "Yeah, I was working at Burger King." He goes, "What's going on?" The sheriff was out there and everything. He goes, "Well, my friend Juanita had a police scanner." I said, "Okay." He goes, "What's going on?" He goes, "Well, apparently there was some people driving around out there, and they said that they saw this man sitting on the table, and he had a hat, a beige hat, and a beige outfit on. And then so when he looked at the people as they were driving through, he goes, it did not look human at all. I go, you serious? He goes, yeah. He goes, not. There wasn't one call. There was over 6 calls of people, different people that actually saw this thing inside of Burger King that night.
So what were
Wow.
some of the descriptions? Like did
The pale in color, greenish in color. It didn't look human. And there was another story that happened like around 6 years prior to that, where he actually went in the same individual. They described him the same way, dressed in beige. Actually went inside and ate at a Mexican restaurant, and his face was covered up. And they asked him, what do you want to eat? So he pointed something to the menu, didn't speak, pointed there in the menu. And then so they actually brought him. Um, his meal. So so ended up once he finished eating his meal, he decided as he got up and walked out the door. So the waitress, I knew her well, following right behind him and said, "Hey, guy, you didn't pay. You had to pay for your food." And so the guy just turned around and just actually flew where he was standing over the overpass and landed on the other side, and nobody saw him again. Same
That's
person, the way he just, yeah, described him the same way and everything.
wow, that's a good story. I like that.
is it documented anywhere so we can read about it?
That story, I don't think that it's been documented, but that story has been passed down for so long. And even I don't know if they actually kept a report at the. I just imagine telling the police department, "Hey, let me see your the stuff that you have about this," but everything was that's what I actually witnessed. So, well, I didn't witness the man flying over the bridge, but I actually talked to the lady that actually had that encounter. So she never did deny it. So,
Wow.
hmm
And he ate all of his food.
that's what they said. So
Nice.
I want to
just ate his food and just took off.
I want to know what he ate, what he ordered. Like, did he just order a
Huh?
taco? And how, if
Uh,
he was not human, how, I mean, he's got to be able to digest somehow.
I do not know, Jenna. I don't know the answer to that, but all I know that he ate it. And next thing he left outside, a lady was behind him. Hey, you didn't pay. So and just, he was trying to get the manager out there, and sure enough, flew over the overpass. So,
Wow.
That's a good
yeah.
That's a
story. I
good,
And
like
then
that.
down out here, we had the Big Bird out here in 1975. It was basically best described as a Thunderbird, and they actually saw it down here. So there's so many reports about it. And that's actually documented. If you look under the Big Bird of B County, you could actually tell they could actually tell stories about it. So, yep, wings, huge, giant wingspan, and everything. So,
How big is the wingspan of that Thunderbird?
God, yeah. So, by when my friend saw it, my friend Fred saw it. He actually saw it in a street called Stamper Street, and the best way to describe it is that these wingspans were long. So, and actually, if you actually, there's actually a story in San Antonio where this lady actually saw it, that it stood over 6 foot tall and with a giant wingspan. And if you type under Big Bird in San Antonio, they would actually hear, you could actually hear a story.
Okay, we'll check that out for sure. Lots of stuff, cool stuff going on down in Texas.
The
How about
monsters love hanging out here. So,
well, according to Jenna, it's the place to be in the winter.
oh, yes. In my heart, Texas is so part of me. I love you, Texas! For you. I really
Yes.
do love you. I love Texas. Sorry.
How about any strange lights? Do you have any stories about?
lights,
Yeah.
lights. There's sometimes I don't. not lights, but there are places down this creek. You can actually hear humming vibrations, like a humming sound, and but it's only one certain area to the creek. And that's where I have my Bigfoot sighting and everything. But that's the only thing that's very, very odd. It's um, just like some kind of frequency sounds. Because right down here we have these lines, they call it, that they're actually drawn on the ground. They have a lot of energy to them. And but Beeville is actually right down strike in the middle of one of those lines. So
The ley lines?
yes, that's what you call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Very
you
cool.
get a metal detector out here, and it goes real crazy over here. So ghost activity, we got quite a bit of those out here. So
Why do you think there's a lot of ghost activity?
because where I'm standing right now here, there's actually an old road. They used to call it Camino Real Road, and that was the actual road that to go to the missions and up in Goliad, and it was a road that the Spaniards actually made, and there has been a lot of Indian attacks here, and a lot of the Spaniards use the Indians as slaves as well. So there's a lot of murder, a lot of stories like that that actually happened here, and that's why sometimes the earth, the ground is tainted with human blood, I guess. And then there's sometimes that stuff ain't there. Uh, there is areas out here where there's actually chains that are growing out of trees, and for some reason it just doesn't feel right there. So
Oh, that's sad.
yeah.
I've been to places like that where you can just feel that something not good happened there.
Hmm. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And especially when you got that gift. There's sometimes I really don't like talking about it. There's sometimes the gift could be a curse sometimes as well. And there's sometimes also that you feel stuff and the emotions that you get from it, and you can actually tell what actually happened there many years ago.
Mm.
So there's sometimes you learn a little bit from it, but there's sometimes you kind of wish you never had that little gift. So
I can relate to that 150%. 100. I was driving home from Virginia one time, and I ended up taking a different route, and I ended up not even realizing I was going to be near it. But I was like, "Hey, this is Gettysburg," and so I stopped along the side of the road because I saw cannons in the field, and I just stopped and got out of the car. And the feeling that I had there was absolutely terrible. It was such a heaviness, such a dread. I just couldn't handle being there. I had to leave. Had to leave. So I totally understand different places. I can be literally driving and feel something happened here.
right, I went to the Carlisle School and went to the cemetery where all those little kids are buried at. Oh man, it was heartbreaking there. So and the emotions that are there is just totally undescribable. So
Hmm.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming up on the end of the show here. I want to give you the opportunity to tell people how they can reach you if you want to be reached.
Well, I have a page called B County Bigfoot Research, and anybody has any questions or anything like that, they can reach me there.
B County Bigfoot Research on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. B County Bigfoot Research on Facebook. That's how you can contact Baldemar for anyone interested in doing so. I'm so excited that you could join us tonight. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, ladies. I really did appreciate seeing everybody. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next week with our special guest, Andy McGrath from the United Kingdom. Good night,
Woo.
everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.